Last time we were discussing about the time of day tariff TOD. Time of day tariff is the tariff structure in which different rates are applicable for the use of electricity for different time of the day. It means that cost of using 1 unit of electricity is different in morning, in afternoon, in evening and in nights. It means that using appliances during certain time of the day will be cheaper than using their particular appliances in other time. So time of day tariff is recognized globally across the electrical industries. It is an important demand side management measure which is used as means of incentivizing the consumers to shift portion of their loads from peak time to off-peak time. So thereby improving the system load factor by reducing the demand on the system during the peak period. Electricity grid can be compared to road or highways that can be accommodate only certain number of vehicles at a time. So during the peak hours, highway are jammed. Similarly, during peak hours, electricity grids are jammed. So driving on highway during the peak hour is like a breeze. So similarly, flow of electricity during peak hour is also breeze. So with this, if people are charged differently for different time of using the highways during the time, so as per the size of the vehicle and time of the day, people will either prefer to go with that particular highway at a time when traffic is less or off peak, or would like to use two-wheeler or similarly other vehicles. So similarly, the TOD tariff is applicable to switch to a time when price are less or will be start using efficient appliances with lesser electricity consumption. So the concept is that not all at a time. We may have bifurcation of total 24 hours of a day in this morning, afternoon, evening and night sessions. So morning normally it is called as between 6 to 8 or 10. Afternoon it is called as 10 to say 4, or evening it called as say 4 to 8 or 10. Night is called 10 to morning 6. So like this, the distribution of the time of the day it is done for particularly design structure of the day of time tariff. The concept is that we may have the different rate of electricity for different span of the day. So when different rate of electricity is there for the different span of the day, definitely when there is a peak, means there is a excessive demand on the system, maximum demand on the system. At that time we may have the particularly high rate of using the energy, or when there is a off peak, so no load, very light load on the system during night hours, we may say the off peak, we may have minimum rate for the using electricity. Because of this, what happens, people may shift their loads. Suppose you are having the flour mill and you are running this flour mill 6 to 8 or 6 to 10. So normally if you close 6 to 10, if you store all these grains to flour, and if you start your flour mill during night hours, say after 10 to below morning 6, you can have lesser, means if you are having the peak hour per unit charge 10 rupees, off peak hour may be 2 rupees. So what happens, because of this, the heavy demand during peak hours will get shifted to off peak hours. So this shifting of load from peak hour to off peak hour makes the load curve flatten. So it reduces the jam. It reduces the particularly the congestion on the transmission line. So it uses the maximum capacity of transmission line. It reduces the losses of the system. So many things like highways, we know that whenever we are having this very traffic jam, we might have observed during the peak periods, and during off periods or off peak periods we may have very light traffic over there. So during jam, it has been seen that number of hours required to travel will be more, consumption of fuel will be more, cost of journey will be, or cost of transport will be more. So you can bifurcate this by just curtailing the vehicles. Say particular screening you can provide for different category of vehicle. So during say night hours you may allow heavy vehicles. During day hours you may ask them to stop. So like this the curtailment it is done from reducing the peak load to off peak load. Similarly we can do in electrical industry, and it is globally accepted. This peak and off peak concept and TOD tariff, it is globally accepted, and we are having this also accepted in India by our MSEDCL too. So recent TOD structure, time of day tariff, consumers are charged for the dynamic price for electricity consumed during peak and off peak hours of the day. So to reduce the negative slope of the load curve means to suppress the peak and fill the valley. So you may, if you say the load curve, so load curve is especially a curve. You know the load curve? People, you are knowing the load curve? What is load curve? What is load curve? Very good. All of you are knowing this load curve. So load curve especially is a curve which is showing you the variation of demand or load with particularly creating jam. What is problem? It is visible to you? Normally, what we are having is particular you may have x and y axis. So y axis, normally we are having y axis, we are having x axis, okay, and curve is like this. Any curve, electrical curve, it is like this. So now this particular part, this is a peak, and this is particularly on x axis you are having the load over here. On y axis I am not going to write anything. On y axis you are having the time. So right from say it is 6 in the evening, next day again 6 in the morning. Say this is a night period. So normally this is 6 in evening, this is peak 8 to 9 around the evening, this is 10 around the evening, and during night hours the load goes down. So what happens during this period? So you are having this particular period, particularly here, you have to suppress this particular section you have to suppress, okay, and you can suppress and you can shift this load to this off-peak period. That is only the reason, or what we can say, the peak shifting or valley filling. So you can do this by using your load curve, especially TOD tariff you can use for that. So by using TOD tariff, definitely you will shift the maximum demand or load on off-peak period, and you may have the relief in. So consumer will be also get satisfied because he is getting energy at lower cost, and system people also get benefited because the jam over the system it is decreased. So very basic, this is of what we have. So during night hours 2200 to 600 म्हणजे रात्री 10 ते सकाळी 6 normally off peak is there. So revision of TOD tariff that we can do regularly has been proposed, keeping in view of existing demand, particular demand pattern. It is studied for day, for a week, for a month, for a year. So you may call it as a daily load curve, weekly load curve, monthly load curve, and finally the yearly load curve. So we can encourage the consumer to shift their load from off peak to non-peak hours. So that is the basic TOD. Okay, any doubt? Any doubt regarding TOD?